So obviously, Adam, this has gotten a lot of attention since the Falcons made the pick last month. How is it all going to work throughout this summer and this year?
Listen, you don't invest the money in Kirk Cousins that the Atlanta Falcons did and not expect him to be the starter. But here's the issue, Dan. If Michael Penix all of a sudden lights it up, this drama isn't going away. There's going to be more questions about when and if Michael Penix is going to play, because it wasn't like he was a second-round pick or a third. He was the 8th overall pick in the draft. And usually, top 10 picks find their way onto the football field sooner rather than later. And so if Michael Penix is what the Falcons thought, then we may get some of those questions sooner than people expected or thought. But the fact of the matter is they have a stabilizing force in Kirk Cousins, who they paid $100 million in guaranteed money, who you know is a 4-time Pro Bowl quarterback. And what did Kirk Cousins say about that quarterback room? It's a major force. Well, there are major forces at play here with the quarterback position. But as it's going to work, Kirk Cousins is the starter. Michael Penix is the 2. They have depth at a position where they haven't had depth since they traded away Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts. They fortified that position, but it doesn't mean that the drama is just going to go away once the regular season rolls around.
And that's the question, right? Cousins can say all he wants. It's a working force. We're working for each other. And that sounds great, Tim, but like as somebody who's been in quarterback rooms in the NFL, what is that dynamic going to be like?
Well, I think the dynamic that Kirk's referring to is like what he expects the attitude of the quarterback room to be. And he's obviously going to set it as the starter, as the veteran. And, you know, when he talked about it being a working force for one another and it being that way throughout his career, look, it probably hasn't been that way every single year, but I think it has been for the most part. And I think he understands that the quarterbacks will all play better when they get their opportunity, when it's the right dynamic. And Kirk has the right approach for it. And I think the way that he answered questions about this, I think give you a little bit of a glimpse into the type of guy he will be in the quarterback room. Like, that's the reality of it. He's been around long enough to see when it works well and when it doesn't. And I think he also knows this. He's a master of this offense. He could coach this offense. He knows that he's going to play well in this offense with the guys around him. And so he can say all of that with confidence and not having to look over his shoulders. And the contract obviously helps as well.
I think more so than anything, Michael Penix being a top 10 pick and being drafted to this team is not necessarily about depth, but it's about length. And what do I mean by that? Really, you could say longevity. Michael Penix Jr. is not the quarterback for now. He's going to be the quarterback for the future. Well, if you want to go back to in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers was the star quarterback, MVP. All of a sudden, they get Jordan Love, not for now, but for the future. And fast forward a few years later, Aaron Rodgers is no longer in Green Bay, but who was there? Jordan Love, and he's lighting it up at least towards the last half of last season and expecting to light it up moving forward. And so what I'm expecting from this team in this season is for Michael Penix Jr. to catch some things from Kirk Cousins. We always say that more is caught than taught, especially when you come to about kids and trying to teach them different things. Michael Penix Jr. being in that quarterback room is going to learn how to be a pro, learn how to run this offense, learn how to take care of his body, not for this year per se, but for the years moving forward, for longevity for this Atlanta Falcons offense.
It all sounds good, but like when the Packers did it, Aaron Rodgers played at a literal MVP level the first 2 years and kept Jordan Love on the bench. When the Chiefs did it, Alex Smith won games and kept Patrick Mahomes on the bench. If Cousins doesn't play well and the Falcons don't win games, we're going to revisit this. I promise you that. And in terms of how he expects to play, Kirk Cousins also had some comments today on where he thinks the offense stands at this point in the offseason.
Reality is we've got a long ways to go. There's not a lot of time on task together, and we got to make up for that quickly, and we have to have a sense of urgency about the way we practice, work, and communicate and meet, and so that's really what my reality is, and for my teammates, and we've got to get to roughly Labor Day and feel like we have the screws tied down.
There's no question Cousins is an upgrade over what they had last year. They ranked 25th in the league in QBR last season, and he was playing great, obviously, before he got hurt. But, Sam, is the addition of Cousins enough to make you believe that this Falcons team can be a legitimate contender?
Oh, without a doubt. It's enough to make me believe, enough to make players on the Falcons believe. I was talking with Bijan Robinson, their star running back, a little earlier in the offseason, and he was so excited even before Kirk Cousins was signed. He was hopeful that they would sign Kirk Cousins because he knows the potency of this offense. Bijan at running back, Kyle Pitts, one of the best tight ends in the league, young upcoming star, and then Drake London at receiver. And oh, by the way, you go and you sign Darnell Mooney in free agency. Now you have a guy who can take the top off of a defense. All you were missing was the quarterback position, and now they have that quarterback. And so whether I believe it or not doesn't matter. What does matter is the people in that locker room believe, the coaching staff believes, and the players who he's going to pass it to or hand it off to, those guys believe as well.
Listen, they got a really good receiving core. They got what many people believe is an elite tight end. Many people believe is an elite runner. And I said it a second ago. This is somebody that is a master of this offense. Like, he's played the vast majority of his career in something that is pretty much identical to what he will do in Atlanta under new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. Like, Kirk Cousins could coach the offense. And so sometimes when you see a quarterback change teams and they go to a new environment, you wonder how that offense will fit them. What they are going to do in Atlanta, Kirk has proved that he thrives in it. And so, listen, I think that you can literally pencil him in around 4,500 yards, somewhere between 25 and 30 touchdowns, and probably fewer than 10 interceptions. Like, that is probably what you will get out of Kirk Cousins, which, Dan, when you talk about what they experienced at quarterback a year ago, is a massive upgrade, and I think it makes them competitive. I think, quite honestly, it probably makes them the favorite in their division.
As you guys mentioned, no shortage of talent on that supporting cast. They now have a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, and a backup quarterback, all of whom were taken in the top 10 of the NFL draft.